In this section then, we're entering a whole new world of app power. So most of the hugely popular apps that have been created for mobile devices have been social ones. And in this section, we're going to be focusing on the app called Instagram. If you haven't used Instagram before, it's pretty straightforward. It allows you to take photos and then post those photos and view the photos of the friends or people that you're following. So it's pretty straightforward, but to do something like that, you need to have what's known as a server. So you need to have essentially a computer or set of computers in the cloud, which the user can then upload their photos to, and that then manages the whole sharing of the photos and passing on to other users. Now there's a number of ways that you can do that, but I think the best option available at the moment is Parse. Now, Parse has gone through a radical transformation in the last 6 months. It was a paid service that users could sign up to, and it would store all of your users' data and manage things like push notifications. For better or worse, that service was shut down in January 2016, but the good news for us app developers was that Parse was made open source. And this means that you can still use all of the Parse functionality to store and share user data, and even do things like push notifications. But as everything is open source, you can store it on your own server. And while that makes setup a little bit more complicated, it means that you have complete control over your data. So it's actually better for developers in the long run. It does of course mean that you'll need a server to store your data on. And in this course, I'm going to show you how to work with a system called AWS, or Amazon Web Services. AWS is used by some of the biggest tech companies, including Netflix, Reddit, Imgur, Pinterest, and the BBC. So it's a huge system in itself, but fortunately for us, it also has a pretty generous free tier. So for 12 months, you can use a lot of the AWS features completely free. The one we're going to be focusing on is Amazon EC2. EC2 is short for Elastic Compute Cloud, and it's elastic in the sense that it will scale to your needs. So if your app gets very popular, then your EC2 instance, as it's known, will scale up to cope with the demand. So it's a great system, very widely used, and pretty easy and free to get started with. So to summarize what we're going to be doing, we're going to create an Amazon EC2 instance, which is much like a server in the cloud, which then we can install Parse to. And then finally, we're going to set up our iOS app to connect to our Parse server to store and manage all our user data. All right, make sense? Hopefully so. Let's click on the big Create an AWS account button. Now, if you already have an Amazon account, you can log in here with your Amazon account, but I'm going to assume you don't and go through the sign up process from scratch. So just put in your email address there. Click I'm a new user. Obviously, if you already have an Amazon account, you can just put your password in there. That will make the sign up process a lot easier. So I'm just going to set this up, put in a password. And click Create Account. Now you will have to put in some credit card details to get access to AWS, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on the account just in case you accidentally select some options which are not covered by the free tier. But if you're careful and do everything as I do it here, you shouldn't get charged anything. So I'm going to make this a personal account and just quickly put my details in here. I'd recommend putting a real address in, but I'm just going to put a fake one in for now. There we go. Tick to agree. Here we go. So this is where you put the credit card details in. I'm just going to pause the recording while I do that. Okay, you then may need to verify your phone number. They'll just call you and you have to enter a PIN. And you're probably going to want the basic support plan for now. Okay, so now you should be all signed up. So we're going to sign in to the console. And remember, what we're going to do is create an EC2 instance, so much like a server, and we're going to install Parse Server onto it. And then we'll be able to access that from within our app. There we go. I'm just going to sign in. And here we are. So this is the main AWS dashboard. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, so I'm going to jump straight to services. And you can see there are a huge number of services available. You can look at those in your own time if you wish, but I'm going to jump straight to EC2. So the Elastic Compute Cloud. And we're going to create a new EC2 instance to store our Parse data on. And here's our EC2 dashboard. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, so I'm going to jump straight to the big blue Launch Instance button. And here we go. So now we can choose between the various instance types available. We're actually going to jump to one from the AWS Marketplace, which allows us to get Parse installed straight away. So click AWS Marketplace on the left and then type Parse into the box. And then jump to that second one there, Parse Server powered by Bitnami. So this is completely free and open source. This will just set up Parse Server and also the Parse dashboard, which is really useful. We'll see what that is in a minute, on your EC2 instance without you having to do anything. Here we go. So there's a summary of the pricing. Note that the software itself costs $0. It's only the hosting that you'll pay for, and you won't pay for that for 12 months as long as you use the T2 Micro instance type. So this has free tier eligible. So that means make sure you select that and you won't be charged anything for 12 months. Then click the blue Review and Launch button. There are various options that you can specify in between that if you want to, but you probably don't need any of those. And then we can just click Launch. And just before we launch, we need to create what's known as a key pair. So this is essentially a pair of passwords that allows you and only you to access this particular EC2 instance. So I would recommend clicking Create New Key Pair. And I'm going to call this Instagram Key Pair. And then you can just download that to your machine, and that will allow you to access your instance whenever you need to. So keep that file safe. If you lose that file, you may well lose access to your EC2 instance. Now this initiation process can take a few minutes, so you might want to go away and get a cup of tea and then come back when it's done. Oh, there we go. That was pretty quick. So now you can click on the catchy instance name, which will be something like this. And this will show you a dashboard showing the instances that you have set up on EC2. And here we go. So this is now still in the process of being set up, but the important takeaway bit of information is next to where it says public DNS towards the bottom right there. So we're going to need this particular URL to access our instance, and you can actually see it up here as well. Now I'd give it a few moments to complete the setup, and while it's doing that, I'm going to download the Xcode app that we can use to connect to our Parse server. So you can download this from iosdevelopercourse.com/course content 10/parse project.zip. And this is a special Parse project that I've created that sets up Parse for you, and it's fully compatible with Xcode 8 and Swift 3. So as soon as that's finished downloading, jump over to your Finder, double click on the file that you've downloaded, parseproject.zip, and that will open up the Parse Server starter project for you, and then click on the Xcode project file to open up the project. So it looks like what we're very familiar with. We've got our app delegate, our view controller. Down here in frameworks, you can see we've got our Parse framework and another framework as well that Parse uses called bolts. We're not going to be editing those files though, so we can keep those away. The main change that we need to make is in appdelegate.swift. So you can see here we've got the Parse configuration, which allows us to enter the application ID, client key, and server, which will be unique to our app. So this is where you need to take the public DNS that I mentioned earlier and paste that into the Parse mutable client configuration.server field, and make sure you put HTTP in front. Notice this is HTTP, not HTTPS, so you will need to allow access to it in info.plist. I've actually allowed arbitrary loads in this demo file, so it should work without having to change anything. But if you want to change that to make it specific to this particular URL, this particular domain, then you can. The one slight change you need to make to that is to put /parse on the end. And that's it. So you're ready to go, but we're not going to run that quite yet. First, we're going to go back to our launch instance. Hopefully it looks like everything's finished now. So I'm going to copy the public DNS again and paste it into my browser, and I'm going to put /apps, and this will take you to the Parse dashboard. So this is the dashboard where you can see everything that you've saved for your users. So in an Instagram app, for example, you can see the images that they've uploaded, you can see their usernames, and anything else that you want to save about them. And here we go. So you can see by default, we've got an app there called My App. So if we click on that, you can see this is our Parse dashboard. So we have no classes yet. We haven't created anything. But here is where we're going to be able to view the logs for our file, as well as any configs, but most importantly, the browser. So we can create a class here, but I'm actually going to do it over in the app. So back over to Xcode. Now, hopefully we've entered everything here correctly. It's worth noting, by the way, that we're going to be able to customize these. So we'll change those later on. I'm not going to do that right now, just because this setup process has gone on long enough and I want to get started with coding. But I'll show you at the beginning of the next section how to change the app ID and the master key. All right. So if we jump over to viewcontroller.swift in the demo app and have a quick look at these 4 lines of code, we'll get a rough idea of what they're doing, and then we'll see the app in action. So we're creating an object called test object, which is a PF object, or Parse framework object. And it has a class name of, in this case, test object 2, but that can be anything we like. And then we set the values of that object, just like a dictionary. So in this case, the value foo is set to be equal to bar. And then finally, we save that object in the background, so i.e. on our Parse server. And this then tells us that the object has hopefully been saved. So we're going to look at this code in a lot more detail and create it for ourselves starting in the next video. But for now, let's just run this, and we should, with any luck, see object has been saved in the console. And then we'll be able to go over to our Parse dashboard and have a look at that object saved on Parse. And there we go. We've got a lot of code coming out here, but if we scroll back up, there it is, hidden in there is our crucial object has been saved. So it looks like that's worked. Let's jump back over to our Parse dashboard and refresh the page to see the confirmation. And here we go. You can see we've got our test object 2, which has an object ID created automatically, created at, updated at. We'll talk about ACL later on in the course, but the important bit is we set the value of the object called string to bar. And there we go. That might not seem like much, but that's a huge accomplishment there. We've created an EC2 instance on AWS, so like our own web server with Parse Server running on it, and we've connected to that using our app, and we've saved some data on it. So that's a lot achieved just in this video, but now of course we want to go on and see what more advanced things we can do with Parse, and we'll start looking at more detail at saving and retrieving objects in the next video.